Thanks for joining us for City Council Comments. I'm Steve Erickson along with Councilmember Wade Demmer. Today we're talking about both the June 1st and the June 15th council meetings. Thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, no problem. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's cooled off a little bit, but we've kind of been in this heat wave and dry weather, and we've actually had a new kind of emergency thing that came up today related to watering.
That's right. Make sure you're not watering during the day. So keep the sprinklers off between 10 and 6. Water in the morning, water at night, and then follow the normal even odd ban.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of lawns you look around and they're in dire need. I know my lawn is, and I'm sure a lot of others out there are.
Yeah, it certainly is a little crispy out there, and probably just going to have to be a little crispy for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it is amazing how much grass, how much resilient it is, like it can come back to life.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is what grass does. It just normally does it in August instead of June, but
Right.
Here we are. So
It's been warm early. So again, new emergency watering ordinance is put into place, or whatever you want to call it, ban. No watering from 10 to 6 until further notice. And then also you're asked to follow the normal odd even sprinkling restrictions, which are basically your house, if it ends in an odd number, you water on odd number calendar days. If your house ends in an even number, on even number days.
Yep, and you just want to make sure you keep enough water in the water towers. That's the important part.
Yeah, for firefighting and then just all the regular use.
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's jump into our June 15th council agenda here. One of the first items we had was a proclamation for the Coon Rapids Women of Today. This is actually a fairly new group that formed a chapter here about 5 years ago. Yeah,
it's a local chapter of a national service organization. They're doing a bunch of different fundraisers for some pretty interesting groups. So we do an awareness and then a proclamation for July 1st to be the Women of Today Day.
I love that. See if we could stick a few more days in the title. But good for them. They came in to accept their proclamation. So again, July 1st, Coon Rapids Women of Today Day, and they do a lot of good for our community, and good to see people stepping up, and also I imagine a social group, get to know people as well.
Yeah, I wish I had a website that I could direct people to learn more, but you can search on Coon Rapids Women of Today if you're interested, and especially if you're interested in donating or joining the group.
Yeah. All right. Under consent agenda, we had an item accepting the 2020 annual financial statement. I know I got a copy of this. I glanced through it and I'm like,
exciting
this is way
stuff.
in the weeds. I mean, I like the normal budget stuff and numbers, but this is very in-depth and detailed.
Yeah, the key here is that as a public entity, we do all of our budgeting, but then you have to have someone audit it. And, all sorts of rules around who can be an auditor. We don't let the auditor stay and audit over and over again. We have a policy that they have to change out every few years, because you never want auditors to get too cozy. And
right.
The really good news is that once again, they gave us a clean audit, no findings, which might sound like what everyone should get, but I mean, auditors find things. They say that they find things about half the cities, so about half the time they're finding things. Yeah. And it doesn't mean there's big things, but there's usually something somebody made a small mistake on. And so for the budget team, the finance team to not have any findings yet again, especially this year when we had this complete curveball of the CARES Act, which was a federal COVID relief program with some strings, and we had to make sure we kept our ducks in a row and were able to execute the CARES Act, and so then we had to have a special additional audit or a different type of audit than normal around that CARES Act funding and still clean audit. So really kudos to the financial group, and I hope people understand it's a really well-run city as far as the budgeting goes and as far as the finances go.
Yeah, and our budget is usually recognized annually with an award. So
yeah, absolutely. And I know people get all concerned about where their taxes go, and the nice thing here is they go where we tell you to, and the auditors, or they go where we say that they go.
Yeah.
And the auditors are showing that that's what's happening. Nothing's going into weird places, or nothing's being abused, and that's really nice to see an external group come in and say that.
All right. Well, if you want to read this, or you're having trouble sleeping some night and want to wake up and read it, you can look at the 2020 annual financial statement on the city's website. Again, that's coonrapidsmn.gov.
That's right.
All right. Moving forward, council adopted an ordinance changing the zoning from office low density residential 2 to moderate density residential. And also, well, around it, there was also land use from commercial mixed use, low density residential to moderate density residential. We're talking about the same piece of property. This is at 1575 Coon Rapids Boulevard, or I believe like east of Egret.
Yeah, this is all the super exciting stuff that people just love to,
Zoning changes.
Yeah,
yes.
you run for city council and you're like, someday I'll get to make a zoning change. No, it's important though. So there's a specific piece of property there that it's a taller piece, and so it fits into 2 different zonings. And so it was simultaneously zoned for business on the bottom half and residential on the top half. And so I don't know how you market that if you're trying to sell it.
Okay.
So it's just sitting there empty, and it's really hard for someone to sell it. So finally we were able to go through and change it all to one thing. And the one thing here is that sort of medium, moderate density residential, which is, normally you'd think of as townhomes, right? Not apartments, not single family homes, but stuff in between there.
Yeah. Okay. So that's been rezoned, and then a project could come forward now. And
Right. We definitely always have to handle that in 2 steps. I think that's something that's important for people to know, is that the zoning is what you want that to be regardless of what projects are planned. So if you zone things because a project's coming and then that project falls through, now you're stuck with it.
Right.
So you got to zone as if there is no project. What should it be?
Yeah.
And then you consider the project separately.
Yeah, because now anything that's moderate density residential can come into that location.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Moving forward, council approved a contract. This is for construction at the Coon Rapids Soccer Complex. They're looking at some building renovations.
Right. So there's that concession stand over there. It's sort of a little bit of a bunker.
Yeah.
It's a concrete block bunker basically, and they're going to update it a little bit, especially the bathrooms, which, if you've got kids who play soccer, probably could use. Right now is not necessarily the best time to be buying construction materials, but you still have to do some construction. So the costs have definitely gone up versus what it would have been a few years ago. What's nice though is that the soccer club itself has stepped up and said that they're going to help pay some of the costs. And so there's an agreement with the group to start getting the construction contract going, and then there's secondly an agreement with the soccer club itself to help pay for it over time. Okay. So it's the price went up, but we got a contribution from the group that it benefits the most.
All right. Council also adopted a resolution amending the Revolving Construction Fund. This is related to the project at 610 and East River Road that is proposed.
Right. So that one is really exciting. Obviously we have 2 half exits on 610 there, and so getting to so we have a full exit, on ramps, off ramps, and so if you miss your exit, you don't have to accidentally drive like 9 miles into another city.
Right.
But to do that, a lot of things are going to have to happen, and we've got, in order to get funding from the state, we've got to start doing some of that planning now.
Yeah.
Most of it will be reimbursed. It's mostly reimbursable. Some of it is going to be our own money that we put in. That amount ends up being fairly small. So we're putting some money in to show that we're really interested, that we really want to do this, and then the project hopefully will move forward mostly with state funding.
Okay, and we actually did have a previous on our consent agenda that we didn't talk about related to purchasing a home. So there is some other activities going on.
Yeah, there are a few houses in that area that ultimately we would have to buy in order to do the plan that's currently on record. And one of the homeowners was willing to just sell right now. And so that was something we were able to execute, which is, it's good. It's nice to not have to do it all at once.
Yeah. Well, like you say, it would sure be nice to have that as a full interchange eventually. We're still probably a couple of years away from that.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. None of this stuff moves super fast, but a little while ago they were considering 610 to be done, and we were like, no, it's not done. It's not done.
You forgot East River Road.
Yeah, don't forget us.
Okay, and there's still additional funding that needs to be secured for the actual construction.
Absolutely, and of course it all depends on what gets in bonding bills, and but we can control what we can control, and we can signal our interest by doing this.
All right. Moving forward, Council considered a joint powers agreement, actually approved that with the Coon Creek Watershed District. This is for Pleasure Creek, a sand filter project. Now, we had one of these done just in recent years, correct?
Right, and we were one of the first groups to do it. So up at Woodcrest, they were finding some high E. coli in the creek, and that's the creek that filters into the well, down by the clay hole, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all trying to get rid of some of that E. coli and revitalize the creek. They put in this new type of filter where, it's basically, it looks like a giant beach, and as the water settles down through it, it cleans out the water, and so they're able to measure the E. coli coming in and the E. coli coming out, and it's cutting it by a dramatic amount, which is really good. And I live down there by Woodcrest, and I think actually the new setup actually looks really nice. That was a pretty swampy, messy looking holding pond before, and now it's actually fairly good looking. So I think it's an exciting thing to be able to do that, to get that environmental benefit, but also the aesthetic benefit. And so happy to see that the Coon Creek Watershed District is going ahead and putting another one in. They're the ones paying for it. We're giving them the land and the access.
Okay. And Pleasure Creek, do you know where that's located?
North, far, I don't remember exactly where, but
The northern part of the city?
I thought it was farther north, but yeah.
We'll have
to look on the map, yeah.
I could have looked it up, but I think it's interesting that you were able to view one and see, the improvements that it made to your area.
Yeah, if you go in the Woodcrest, the Frisbee golf course is right there, plays right alongside of it, and so sort of across from the car dealerships and home furniture down there is where one is, if anyone wants to go see what it looks like.
Okay, and it looks like this one is located, a portion of Pleasure Creek, it says runs through the city's South Public Works Storage Yard.
Oh, did I say north?
In the Evergreen Industrial Park.
Oh.
So is this what we're talking? The project is adjacent
Yes.
to existing city stormwater ponds between the railroad tracks and Evergreen Boulevard.
Yeah, I was thinking Sand Creek, Pleasure Creek. Never mind.
Creek. There you go. But the goal again of the project is to reduce total phosphorus and E. coli loading into Pleasure Creek.
Right.
So
Yep.
that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
We've been successful in one project,
Yeah.
hoping the same thing here.
Yeah, and this is a new technology that a couple of cities have done, and we're pretty early adopters on it. Again, the Coon Creek Watershed District is driving it, so it's us just saying go for it.
Yeah. All right. Moving forward, Council adopted a resolution approving plans and specifications and ordering the ad for bids. This is for the Riverwalk Sanitary Sewer Lining Phase 2. And as we learned Tuesday night, this is a very important sewer piece.
So you imagine all the sewer pipes under all the houses slowly have to come together into one really big pipe. And this is that one really big pipe, and it's basically it's a 40-inch sewer pipe that services the southern half of the entire city of Coon Rapids, basically. Yeah. So definitely a pipe you'd like to keep operating, and these linings are what protects those pipes from degrading and having a really big mess. So they're constantly monitoring the health of the sewer pipes and making sure everything's in good shape. And if they start seeing some problems, they want to get in and fix them. That ounce of prevention versus a pound of cure. Yeah. It is a pretty big budget hit. It ends up being about $1 million. But if you could ever think of a better thing to spend $1 million on than making sure the sewer works for half the city, it does feel like the sort of thing you do have to spend some money on.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've done a lot of work in the last decade or so doing relining a lot of the old areas of town. So this sort of continues some of that and making sure the system is working properly and we don't have problems.
Absolutely, and it's been a great preventative maintenance thing to just keep getting them lined, and you want to line as many of them as you can, because again, you don't want them. You don't want sewer pipes failing, I think, is a pretty fundamental thing we can all agree on.
Yes, for sure. And that technology is amazing too, that what they've advanced to and how they stick it down there and line it. And
and then they got little drones flying around to monitor things. And
technology. All right. Moving forward, Council adopted the 2021 Police Officer Labor Agreement. This is something they've been working on it for a while now. This is for 2021, so it will be retro to the beginning of the year. We don't often talk about contracts, but in this sort of police environment and a lot of the cities needing good police officers, we wanted to talk about that and sort of how this relates to recruiting.
Right. So there's a couple of things that were changes in this. Obviously every couple of years we have to do labor agreements, and I'm glad I don't have to be the one doing them because I'm sure that they can get contentious. But in this case, there was a sort of normal cost of living increase, which I think everyone agrees is fair. But we also did a market adjustment, which is a way to say a raise. So across the board, we had found that we weren't quite paying our police officers what they could have gotten somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so we bumped up the amount of pay across the board for police. And exactly because of that, right now, most police departments are short-staffed.
Yeah.
And so then the second thing we did is we increased the amount of seniority you could bring over from a prior job. So if you had 6 years of experience and you came to Coon Rapids, you'd get credit for 3, whereas in the past you wouldn't have gotten as much credit. So your seniority is more transferable now. I mean, quite frankly, this is a way that we can bring in good, experienced police officers from other departments and hopefully avoid them taking our good, experienced people by making sure that our pay is competitive. So it's, if you know a police officer who's really good in a different city, and they would prefer to come work in Coon Rapids, now that becomes a stronger possibility for them financially.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's helped because it sounds like they just had maybe a lateral process, and they said they had 6 or 7. All the candidates were great, to transfer over. So
yeah, there's definitely some places where people are not super thrilled about staying police officers, and obviously the question came up. Well, if people are coming from a department that doesn't have a great culture, how do we make sure we have good police officers? And one of the best ways is to have lots of candidates.
Yeah.
So then you can pick the ones who you think can come in and come into a strong culture and a positive culture and really be a positive force in our city.
All right. Well, let's hope these changes help our recruiting here.
Absolutely.
All right. While we're on the subject of police, we had another action related to the police department. This was a resolution amending the budget for the purchase of body-worn cameras and related expenses. This obviously is a topic that's been in the news a lot in the last year, and Coon Rapids looks like we're moving forward here with getting body cameras later this year.
That's right. And this has been a tough one because they're not cheap. Right? And so every year you're kind of looking, going, is this the year we should buy them? Is this the year we should buy them? Well, what aren't we going to do with our money if we buy them?
Right.
One of the things that happened this year that really worked out in our favor was the CARES funding that we got. A lot of it was applicable to paying for things that were in the normal police budget. So the CARES Act money covered things in the police budget, which gave us a little more flexibility to spend money that had already been budgeted for police things. We took that opportunity as the opportunity that this is the time. Let's get these. The specific system we're buying is the same system as our dash cams. And then the other part of it that you have to then hire is you have to hire somebody whose job is to take care of all this data. And it's a ton of data. And handle requests, and then we still have work to do to make policies, although luckily we don't have to invent that whole cloth. The League of Minnesota Cities has some policies that you can sort of pick from. So we are getting to having both body cams and dash cams soon, and I think that in general that tends to work out well for everyone, because you just never know who's going to wish you had one. And a lot of times it helps protect the police officer to show that they did the right thing, and it also helps protect confidence that there is trust, when the story you tell is the story people see on tape. When you don't have a story on tape, trust is taught hard, and obviously if the story on tape is different than what someone says, then trust is really in bad shape. But having people have the cameras and having the cameras tell the same story, I think keeps the trust high.
Yeah, it goes both ways. It protects the officers, it also protects the members of the public that are interacting with them.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. So again, that looks like it'll be implemented sometime this fall by the time they get the cameras, I imagine do some training and get the evidence tech on board.
Right. Yep.
And reconstruct an office space. So.
Yep. Have to make space for all that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving forward, Council approved an architectural and engineering services agreement for a new Fire Station 3 while we're on the topic of public safety.
Yeah.
This Fire Station 3 seems like it's in need of some either major renovations or, like we're looking at here, a new station, actually.
It is fun. City council meetings sometimes feel a little bit like kindergarten classes where we're talking about the police and the fire. Yeah. No, so this is good. The Station 3, which we're going to build down by the Ice Center, which, dovetailing into another conversation, in the long run, we'll probably be shooting the fireworks from the roof of Station 3.
Yeah.
So, it's something that the old station is at retirement, and we definitely need to build something new. So we've got the contracts, getting together with the architects and trying to figure out what the fire station should be, and go forward and get the fire station built.
All right. So basically, we're just in the beginning here, looking at the architectural and engineering, and then there'll be a whole here's the plans, here's the timeline.
Contracts, yep.
But we're still in the next. Do we have a timeline yet on next year or two?
We do. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
2022 seems to be maybe
something like that.
Maybe by open house in 2022, we could have a new fire station. That seems doable.
Maybe.
That's a year and a half. Okay. Don't mark our words.
Lots of steps to vote on between now and then.
Right. But exciting for them, and like I said, there was a study done to whether to replace it or do the modifications. And seems like the recommendation was it's better to go with the new station.
Yeah, we don't build stuff for fun, right? You build stuff when it's the right choice to make.
Right. All right. Well, more on that to come in the coming months.
Yeah.
That was all our June 15th meeting, which was actually quite a bit. Moving back to the 1st, we didn't actually have a very long meeting for this one. A couple things we want to talk about there on the consent agenda was approval of a temporary on-sale liquor license. This is for the 4th of July community celebration, so I want to talk about the liquor license. But the more important thing here is a celebration is going to happen this year.
Yes, we are going to have fireworks. We are going to have the big 4th of July, and we're going to have the tent that the Lions run, and it should be a really good time. We should be able to get out and, everyone's outside. Hopefully the weather's nice and not, it'd be ironic if that was the only day it rained all summer, but hopefully it's, we get a little rain between now and then, and then we're able to do the big celebration. And it's one of the best fireworks shows around, so great way to spend an evening.
All right, so
July. And of course all the other events too, but the fireworks kind of take top billing.
Hey, we got some of the best fireworks in the Midwest. So again, the celebration is happening. It'll be 2 days this year, Saturday, July 3rd and Sunday, July 4th. The parade's taking place on Saturday the 3rd at 1 o'clock. And then they're doing the firecracker race on Sunday morning. So the 5K this year they're doing. There's no 10K.
Right.
Because they weren't able to do the planning with COVID and all that. And then there's a little sparkler dash for the kids. They award some prizes. And then again, the carnival entertainment, all of that stuff.
Yeah, and I say hi if you see me there. I plan to run the 5K, and obviously I plan to eat some cheese curds. So
after you run the 5K,
maybe a little while after, yeah.
All right, and again, you should have just gotten this newsletter in your mailbox within the last week or two, but it's filled with all sorts of information on the city. But on the front page is all the details on the 4th of July and all the information, so you can find a complete list of events there. All right, one other thing, more information you can find there would be our summer concert series. We actually had a donation from the Community Strength Foundation in the amount of about $8,750 for the summer concert series.
Yeah, so you just always want to thank anyone who donates money, and this is a group, Community Strength Foundation, that they really put together a lot of the donations for things like the fireworks and the concert series, and a lot of the concerts down at the dam get to go and sit outside at one of the jewels of Coon Rapids, which is the Coon Rapids Dam, and hear all sorts of different types of music. And then I believe that summer series is also in the newsletter and also on the webpage.
Yep, you can find it all there. I know the legendary Percolators Band played last night. We're actually taping this on Friday. But there's several more concerts remaining. Rocky Lynn's coming up later in June, and it goes into early August. So check out those concerts if you're interested. All right. Council considered a resolution amending the water fund. This is for the replacement of some water meters.
Yeah, so I'm going to guess about 15 years ago, we went and put in these radio-controlled water meters. If you remember back before that, you got a little card in the mail, and you were writing down your number from the meter, and you had to fight the spiders. And then they gave you a remote-controlled one, and you didn't have to write down those cards anymore. Some of those are coming up to the end of their service and are being replaced. So for some people, that means they're going to ask to come into your house and do the replacement. So good just to know. But it's better than having to have a little card and having to write it. So hopefully everyone's happy about having a new, better automated water meter.
Yeah, the automated system has been great. Like you said, don't have to fill out that card, but I imagine every once in a while they do need to be changed out.
Yep,
so.
Absolutely.
All right. Council considered a preliminary and final plat. This is for Noberg Corner at 10203 Lynette Street. This will have some new homes.
Yeah, it's a really, really big lot, and there's one home on it, and they're splitting it up into 5 lots. The one house will remain, so 4 new houses in that area, and it's just always kind of nice to see new houses coming in, especially given the demand for new houses.
Yeah. All right. We are pretty much out of time, but quickly before we go, we want to mention the Summer in the City meeting kicked off. We were at Lions Park earlier this month. The next one is coming up on Tuesday, June 22nd at Parkside Park, which is
Parkside Park,
in your ward, right?
My neighborhood, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to say see you there. I will miss it, unfortunately, but you'll see all the other city council members there, and that's just as good.
Yes, and it's fun. A lot of the staff are out there. They have displays. You can get a lot of information. You can ask questions of staff. It's really a good night to come out, and there's free ice cream.
There is free ice cream.
So that's probably the best reason to come on out. And we'll hope it's a little cooler this time than our first
And they bring
meeting.
the big equipment, so you get to see the fire trucks and the police cars, and maybe a snow plow, which is but kids like to see all that. And Parkside's undergoing some renovations too, so you'll get to see some of the stuff going on there.
All right. Well, if you can't make it out on Tuesday, June 22nd, like Wade, there will be 2 more meetings in July. So again, you can get those in the newsletter, which was just mailed out, and also on the city's website. All right. That's it. Anything else?
No, thank you very much.
All right. We are out of time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here again after our 2 meetings in July.